In that sense, when you hear the music, does that influence what you write?
Yes, the music comes first and the lyrics come after. And Mark and I divide the songs. He basically always picks the songs that he composed himself, because he feels a stronger connection, already has a view of how he wants to finish them with his lyrics. And he comes up with the topic of the record, and I try to continue that red line through the majority of the lyrics. And there are songs where you immediately have a view of like, okay, that's going to be the topic of the song. Songwriting goes quick, and some songs are like dragons, like we say in Dutch. It takes forever. It's a slow process.
Which one then was the toughest for you to get the lyrics right?
A song that didn't appear on the record, but will probably be released somewhere in the near future. But not because of that. Well, that was a slow process for me to write the lyrics for, but because all band members have an equal vote of which songs should be on the record. So we all made our own list. We recorded 18 songs and only 12 songs fit on the record. So we had to put 6 aside and have them wait to be released later on.
What did you look at in terms of your selection? You say everybody in the band made a selection of which songs they liked. What was your criteria, so to say, for what you wanted for the record?
I liked it to be a mix out of all the different composers, because back in the day there were basically 1-2 composers, so the style would be very consistent. And now that there are 5 guys throwing ingredients in the Epica soup, let's say it like that, have to make sure that the balance stays right. You know, you have to maintain the sound of the band, but evolve in a natural way and not kind of revolve, like I have everything go too fast. Whereas Isaac writes very upbeat songs, major. Mark writes them more minor, so they're a little bit darker than Isaac. And Koen is the guy that comes up with great ballads. And Rob, our bass player, he wrote the song Ascension, which has a touch of black metal. So, but we do like to include different styles in Epica. But I think it was important to maintain the balance. And there were some songs that were my favorite and didn't make it to the record. That's the whole thing of the democratic process. But I did fight very hard for the ballad that's on this record, because there's another ballad, but I had a clear view of that this would just fit better in a total picture, and the majority believed me.
And part of this, well, like you say, it's more of a communal effort. Everybody pitches in, and then people have written that Epica has become harder and harder with each album. So is that a result of everybody pitching in?
Yeah, I guess so, because Isaac and Arjen, our guitarist and drummer, they come from God Dethroned, which is a heavy band, and of course they pitch in, like you say, and I think it's a good thing that Epica became a little heavier, but we still maintain the symphonic aspect. It's what defines Epica, you know, the choir, the orchestration, but the guitars have been lifted up to the next level.
Okay. And well, thematically, we've talked about Universal Death Squad. Did you write the lyrics for that track?
Mark wrote the lyrics.
Is there one track on the album where you are particularly proud of the lyrics that you wrote?
Oh, a couple. One of my favorites is Phantasmic Parade. It was also inspired by the movie The Matrix, which totally is connected to also the idea that we are living in a hologram version of a higher reality that we cannot get access to. And in The Matrix, you also have 2 different worlds in which you can choose from, which you can then also totally connect to everyday life. We can escape reality through different mediums. I mean, the internet, movies, music, and a really cornerstone on this record is the virtual reality glasses that you can get now, where you can create a new reality where you cannot then even see the difference of the world we are living in now and the artificially created reality. So I've actually tried one of the Oculus Rifts, and I was amazed. It was a little scary, I have to say as well.
Well, I want to ask because obviously, like you said, there are technological advancements that we can now do things that we never thought possible. So do you think this is a good thing? Do you look forward to the future? And this virtual reality?
I have a kind of mixed emotions about it.
Okay.
On one side, I love technology, but on the other side, if you think about the robots that we can create that can eventually decide for themselves, they get their own will, that becomes a little bit scary, because then something that we created can take over us. That is a little bit of weird, a weird outlook on the future. But I am a fan of technology. Okay. It makes things much easier, and on the other side, I am an opponent of it because everybody's nowadays too much attached to their mobile phones. To people walk around in the city, and you see everybody walking like this. It's a little bit. It's quiet in a train and in the plane, but sometimes you miss the real actual conversation with somebody. And that's being blocked by all the digital devices that we have nowadays. Well,
that's interesting because obviously one thing people do with their devices is at concerts they film.
Yeah.
Which, in a sense, you can say, well, they're not no longer living the moment. They're kind of in an alternate space now because they're watching it through a screen. So, what is your opinion of people that film shows? And
well, I believe in living in the moment now, but also creating memories. Of course, people film shows with different intentions. Some really want to put it online for everybody to see, make bootlegs or whatever. But there's YouTube, and there's also a great advantage that people that cannot buy a ticket to buy the show, they can still see it. Or they can, without knowing about the band, they can discover the band through YouTube and through those sometimes crappy phone videos with bad quality. But it's not nice when the whole audience is filming, when you have a feeling like, am I now performing for the video footage or for the people that are there? Because when you have a live show, there's a different energy than when you watch it on the screen, and you have to really feel it. And
well, one more thing about this is you mentioned just now that it's more difficult nowadays with the technology to figure out what is real and what is not. So as a musician, a lot of musicians told me that they, in a sense, don't have to grow up. So is it more difficult for you as a musician to kind of figure out what is real, and how people treat you?
Well, being a musician is already a kind of surrealistic profession. We have a view on life. We travel a lot, so you see more of the world. But our everyday life looks very different to the majority of the people. So sometimes I think we have a different view on the world than people that don't travel much, that have a smaller world, so to say. They have their job, they live in a town, and they don't come out of a radius of 30 kilometers. And we fly all the way to New Zealand and see that the world is a bigger place than just the town you live in. So I like both. When I'm on tour, then you're a little bit in this bubble, you're being creative, and then when you're home, you have a totally different schedule, and it's a strong contrast in between those two worlds.
Finally then, I think with each record that you've released so far, the success has gone up as well. So in that sense, do you think as a band, as an artist, you are as good as your latest record?
In a way, I believe that with each record that we release, we try to get the best out of ourselves as possible. And with now the Holographic Principle, I think we're all very pleased with the end result that we created by working together as a team, the band, the producer, the mixer and management. And it's been a group effort, and a lot of energy was poured into this. And I hope we can release it when we start playing the songs live.
Is this a moment of anxiousness because you don't know how people will react?
Well, when you just come out of the recording sessions, you're kind of sick of the songs.
Okay.
You have to let go a little bit, especially when you're doing the mix, and then you have to listen to all the little details, if they are according to what you think they should sound like, and everybody has a different taste or a different opinion on how the song should be mixed. And then you let go, and then we had the listening session a couple of weeks back, and we kind of went into it like, what will they say? And the overall response was good, and we were all a little bit relieved, like, now it's not sitting on a shelf waiting to be released, and the first couple of people could already listen to it, and they were like, oh, blown away, like, this is a lot of information, which is a good thing, because that means that you can listen to the record over and over again and discover new things. I always say Epica is kind of an investment, you know, when you buy a record, it will probably, hopefully, be with you for a long time.
Well, this is going to be my absolute last question, but you had this listening session, and then, like say, you like to see it as an investment. Did you yourself discover new things in the song?
Yes, yeah.
Can you give me one example?
Well, the guitar solos, they're out of this world, and overall the guitar work, because the guitar is mixed very much to the front now, which gave it also that heavier sound. And well, so certain backing vocals were recorded after I recorded my vocals and my backing vocals. So there are a couple cool melodies where I'm like, hey, I really like that. I'm very happy with that.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you too.